The sun had barely begun to set, casting long shadows across the living room. As I sat down to go through the photos our friend Greg had sent over Janet, my wife had insisted we capture moments of our anniversary trip to the coast. We hadn't had much time for vacations recently, so this was supposed to be special. I flipped open the envelope. Greg had dropped off that afternoon. Greg was a photographer we had known for years, a trusted friend who'd often taken photos for us from birthdays to holidays. I spread the glossy pictures out on the table, looking forward to reliving the trip through Greg's lens. Except as I shuffled through them, something felt off. These weren't the photos from our trip. In fact, none of them had me in them at all. A sinking feeling gnawed at my stomach. The photos featured Janet all right, but not with me. She was smiling, laughing, her arm wrapped around a man I had never seen before. A man I definitely did not know. My heart dropped into my stomach. I stared at the images, my breath shallow, feeling like I had just been punched in the gut. "What the hell is this?" I muttered under my breath, flipping through more images. Each photo was worse than the last. Janet and this man, tall, dark-haired, with a grin that made my blood boil, were in intimate poses, their bodies close. Some photos were in restaurants, others were more private in places I didn't recognize. One particularly damning photo showed the two of them kissing his hand, resting dangerously low on her waist. I stood up, the sudden rush of anger, making my pulse race. I felt the bile rise in my throat as I paced the room. The photos scattered across the table like pieces of a broken reality. My wife was cheating on me. I clenched my fists, my mind racing for answers, but none came. Only one thought burned in my head. I need to confront Greg. He must have some kind of explanation. Without hesitation, I grabbed my car keys and stormed out of the house, my mind clouded with confusion and rage. The drive to Greg's place felt like it took forever, the minutes dragging as I replayed the images in my head, hoping I had somehow misunderstood. But no, those photos didn't lie. When I finally reached Greg's apartment, I slammed the car door shut and marched up to his door, my knuckles rapping hard on the wood. I waited, tapping my foot impatiently. After what felt like an eternity, Greg opened the door, looking surprised to see me. "Hey man, what's up?" Greg asked casually, his voice light. "What the hell is this, Greg?" I growled, holding up the envelope of photos. I could see the color drain from his face. As soon as he saw it, his casual demeanor faltered, and he took a step back, opening the door wider. "Come inside," he said quietly, his voice a stark contrast to the easygoing tone he'd greeted me with. My heart hammered in my chest. As I followed him into his studio, the room was cluttered with photography equipment, but all I could focus on was the pounding in my ears and the twisting knot in my stomach. Greg rubbed the back of his neck, clearly uncomfortable. "Look, I didn't mean for you to get those." He started, avoiding eye contact. "They were meant for Janet, meant for Janet." I snarled. "What the hell are you talking about? Who's the guy in these photos, Greg?" He hesitated, but he knew he couldn't lie anymore. He's her lover." For a moment the room felt like it was spinning. The words hit me like a freight train, knocking the wind out of me. I struggled to process what he had just said, staring at him in disbelief. My fingers curled tighter around the envelope as my vision blurred with rage. "Her lover." I repeated, my voice barely more than a whisper. "You knew about this." Greg looked down, his guilt written all over his face. "I'm sorry, man. I didn't want to get involved, but Janet paid me. She begged me not to tell you." I didn't know how to say no. My mind raced. Janet, the woman I'd loved for years, had not only betrayed me but had roped Greg into her twisted deception. She had paid him to keep quiet to protect her affair. My chest tightened with fury. "And you took her money. You chose to protect her over telling me the truth." I spat, my voice shaking. Greg didn't answer. His silence said enough. At that moment, the betrayal became too much to bear. I wanted to scream, to punch something, but all I could do was stand there, staring at the man who I had called a friend. My anger wasn't just at Janet anymore. It was at Greg too. In my mind, A dark thought started to form. She thinks she can buy silence and get away with this. She has no idea what's coming. I turned abruptly, leaving Greg standing there in his guilt-ridden silence. I didn't say another word as I stormed out of his apartment. Back in the car, my thoughts raced faster than my hands on the wheel. Janet had made a fool of me. She had cheated, lied, and manipulated our friend into keeping her dirty secret. My fists clenched around the steering wheel as I sped down the highway, my mind forming the beginnings of a plan. If Janet thought she could control everything with money and lies, she was in for a rude awakening. She had crossed the line, and now I was going to make sure she paid for every moment of her betrayal. Revenge wouldn't just be sweet. It would be the only thing to bring me any peace. My wife's life, the one she had built behind my back, was about to come crashing down, and I was going to enjoy every second of it. The drive home felt surreal, each mile a countdown to a confrontation that was long overdue. My mind buzzed with a mix of rage and disbelief. I replayed every moment I had shared with Janet, every laugh, every touch now tainted by the knowledge of her betrayal. The images from Greg's photos lingered in my mind like a haunting melody. The sight of her with another man suffocating my thoughts. When I finally pulled into the driveway, I took a moment to breathe. I needed to think clearly before I faced her. My heart raised as I stepped out of the car, the weight of the situation pressing down on me. Inside the house was quiet, a stark contrast to the storm raging inside me. I could hear the soft hum of the television from the living room, where Janet was probably watching one of her favorite shows, blissfully unaware of the chaos swirling around her. I moved cautiously, my footsteps silent on the hardwood floor. As I approached the living room, I could see her silhouette on the couch, the glow of the screen illuminating her face. She looked relaxed, happy even, and that thought twisted the knife deeper in my heart. Janet. I called, my voice steady but laced with an edge. She turned, her smile fading as she saw the tension in my expression. "Hey honey, you're back early. How was your day? Can we talk?" I replied, trying to keep my voice calm. Her brows furrowed, and I watched as she shifted slightly on the couch, instinctively preparing for the conversation. I was about to initiate. "Sure, what's up?" I took a deep breath and stepped closer. My hands clenched into fists at my sides. "I found something today, something I think you need to explain." "What do you mean?" Her voice held a hint of apprehension now, and I could see the color drain from her cheeks as I pulled out the envelope of photos, slapping it down onto the coffee table. "Start talking," I demanded, my voice low and menacing. Janet's eyes widened as she glanced at the envelope. Then back at me. "What are those? Why are you acting like this? Don't play innocent with me," I snapped, the anger boiling over. "You know exactly what these are? Who is he?" "Janet?" The realization hit her and she went pale. I don't know what you're talking about," she stammered, but the way she shifted her gaze told me everything I needed to know. I leaned in closer, my voice low and firm. "Greg showed me the photos. The man you're with, you've been cheating on me." "How could you?" Tears welled in her eyes and she took a shaky breath. "I didn't mean for you to find out like this. It was a mistake. A mistake." I scoffed, incredulity bubbling in my chest. "You paid Greg to keep quiet. How long has this been going on?" "Janet?" She shook her head, her hands trembling. "It was just one time. I thought it meant nothing." I cut her off, my voice rising. "One time? How can you say that you've been living a double life while I've been here thinking everything was fine?" Janet's tears fell, and for a moment I almost felt pity, but it was quickly replaced by a burning anger. "What do you want from me?" she cried, her voice cracking. I leaned back, collecting my thoughts, the adrenaline coursing through me. "I want the truth, Janet, all of it. If you think you can play me for a fool, you're dead wrong." Okay, she said, raising her hands in surrender. "I'll tell you everything, just please don't yell. Start talking." I repeated, my heart pounding in my chest. "I met him at work. It started out as just flirting, nothing serious. But then one night things got out of hand. I didn't mean for it to happen. I swear. So you just fell into bed with him? I shot back, my skepticism evident. I was lonely. You've been so distant lately, always working late, and I felt ignored. She snapped, anger flaring in her eyes. You never cared to ask how I felt. I was taken aback by her accusation. I work hard to provide for us. How could you do this to me because I thought you didn't want me anymore? She yelled, her voice rising as she stood up, hands clenched into fists. I stared at her, the betrayal slicing deeper. So you thought cheating was the answer? I didn't think it would go this far, she cried, her voice breaking. It was just supposed to be a fling, something to make me feel wanted again. I shook my head in disbelief, trying to process her words. The woman I loved had just revealed herself as someone entirely different. Did you love him? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, the weight of the question hanging in the air. Janet hesitated, and in that moment I saw the truth in her eyes. I don't know, that was it. My heart shattered. The last shred of love I had for her evaporating in an instant. Get out, I said quietly. I want you out of this house. Please don't do this, she begged, her voice pleading. We can work through this. I'll do anything. No, you've crossed a line and I can't just forget it. You're not the person I thought you were. Don't throw everything away. We've built a life together. I took a step back, the reality of what I was saying finally settling in. You threw it away? When you decided to cheat? She looked defeated, the fight leaving her as she stared at me with tear-stained cheeks. Where will I go? Not my problem. I turned away from her, walking towards the door, my heart heavy with the weight of what I was about to do. Wait. Just give me some time to explain. Please, she cried. But I didn't turn back. I had given her enough chances. I opened the door and stepped outside the cool night air, hitting me like a wave of relief. The chaos inside me began to settle, replaced with a sense of resolve. I needed a plan, and as the darkness enveloped me, I knew this was only the beginning. I would make sure she understood the consequences of her actions. Revenge was now my mission, and I would not rest until she paid for every lie. The night stretched out before me, filled with possibilities, and I was ready to embrace them all. The next few days blurred together in a haze of anger and determination. I throw myself into work, using it as a distraction from the storm brewing in my mind. But no matter how busy I keep myself, the images of Janet and that man haunt me. Each time I close my eyes, I see their smiling faces, their intimacy, and the betrayal etched in every picture. But I'm not just wallowing in pain. I'm planning. Revenge isn't something you just jump into. It requires careful thought, strategy, and execution. I can't afford to be reckless. I need to outsmart her and him, make them pay for the anguish they've caused me. After a particularly grueling day at the office, I sit at my kitchen table, paper strewn around me. I pull out my laptop and begin researching ways to gather evidence against Janet and her lover. My heart races with the thrill of plotting, the anticipation of the confrontation ahead. This will be my way of regaining control, of turning the tables. I get a notification that Greg has messaged me. I hesitate before opening it, a mix of anger and frustration rising in me. After everything, he still has the audacity to reach out. Hey man, I'm really sorry about what happened. If you want to talk, I'm here. The message reads. I scoff, my fingers hovering over the keyboard as I contemplate how to respond. Part of me wants to lash out, but another part knows that I need to keep my enemies close. Instead, I type back. I need information. Can we meet? He replies almost instantly, sure, where we agree to meet at a coffee shop down the street from my place. I leave the house, feeling a mix of apprehension and excitement. This is a step towards my plan. A way to gather more intel. I arrive at the cafe, the aroma of coffee filling the air, the low hum of conversation buzzing around me. When I spot Greg at a corner table, I can't help but feel a wave of anger wash over me again. He looks up as I approach, his expression remorseful but cautious. Hey, he says, motioning for me to sit. I sit down, leaning in closer. Let's cut the crap. Greg. I need to know everything. How long has this affair been going on? He hesitates, glancing around as if he's afraid someone might overhear. I really didn't want to get involved. But it started a few months ago, just flirting at first. But then it escalated. Did you know she was paying you to keep quiet? His eyes widen in surprise. She paid me. I thought she just wanted the photos kept private. She paid you to keep your mouth shut. You're not innocent in this. Greg shrieked slightly in his seat. Guilt written all over his face. I didn't think it was serious. I thought it was just a phase. Whether you thought it was serious or not doesn't change the fact that you were complicit in her betrayal. Look, I'm sorry, I really am. I should have told you. I leaned back in my chair, crossing my arms. You're lucky I'm not throwing you under the bus right now. He looks at me, concern etched on his face. What are you planning to do? I smile coldly, a sense of satisfaction coursing through me. I'm going to make sure they both regret this. I need proof, something concrete to expose them. Expose them. How? I glance around the cafe to ensure we're not overheard. I'm going to plant a few doubts in their minds. I'll make it look like I'm unaware of what's happening while I gather evidence. Once I have enough, I'll confront them both. That's risky, Greg warns. Risky. You should have thought about that before getting involved. I'm not here for your approval. Greg, I just need information. He nods, understanding the gravity of the situation. Okay, what do you need from me? I need you to keep an eye on Janet. Find out where she goes, who she meets, she trusts. You use that to your advantage. I can do that, he replies hesitantly, but be careful if she finds out. Trust me. I'm going to be careful. I say firmly. I won't give her any indication that I'm onto her, but I need you to do this. Get me the information I need to show her what real betrayal looks like. We finish our drinks, and as I leave the cafe, a plan begins to take shape in my mind. The next step involves making Janet think everything is normal. While I keep my eyes and ears open, I'll set the stage for the ultimate confrontation. Back at home, I dive deeper into my research. I scour social media looking for anything that might give me a clue about Janet's activities. As I scroll through her friends' posts, I catch a glimpse of her at a party just days before our fight. She's laughing, a drink in hand, with that same man from the photo standing beside her. I feel a surge of anger as I jot down notes marking down everyone in her circle. I need to find a way to infiltrate her life to discover her secrets without raising any alarms. A thought strikes me. Her friends. They must know something. Maybe they can be persuaded to share what they know. I send out a few texts, inviting some of our mutual friends over for drinks. That weekend, I'll put on a facade of normalcy while I gather information. As the days pass, I put my plan into action. I play the devoted husband, acting as if nothing has changed. But inside, I am a coiled spring ready to unleash my revenge. Finally, the weekend arrives and I prepare for the gathering. I clean the house, setting everything up just as it should be for a friendly evening. I light some candles, pour a few drinks, and make sure the atmosphere feels relaxed when our friends arrive. I keep my demeanor light, engaging in conversation as if nothing is amiss. Janet comes home, and I can see the surprise on her face when she realizes I've organized a gathering. Wow, this is nice. I didn't know you were planning this, she says, her eyes shining with genuine delight. Just wanted to have some fun. I reply with a smile that doesn't quite reach my eyes. As the night progresses, I watch Janet closely, looking for any signs of guilt or deception. She laughs, drinks, and interacts with our friends, but a part of me knows she's hiding something. I catch Greg's eye across the room, and he nods subtly, indicating that he's been gathering information. The night feels like a ticking clock, and I can sense that the moment of truth is drawing closer. As the conversations flow, I subtly steer the topic toward relationships, asking our friends about their experiences. I want to gauge their opinions, perhaps even pry into their knowledge of Janet's recent behavior. So anyone here ever had to deal with infidelity? I ask casually, watching their reactions. Laughter erupts, but I see a flicker of discomfort on Janet's face. Why would you bring that up? She says, her voice tight. I shrug, pretending to be nonchalant, just curious. Relationships can be tricky, right? Our friends chime in with stories, and I catch Janet stealing glances at me, her expression a mix of fear and guilt. I know she's starting to feel the pressure, and it only fuels my determination. As the night winds down, I help clear the dishes, my mind racing with plans. I need to keep up the act to maintain the facade of the loving husband while I slowly tighten the noose around her neck. "Are you okay?" she asks quietly, her brow furrowed with concern. "Of course, just enjoying the evening," I reply, forcing a smile. But inside I know I'm playing a dangerous game, and I'm ready to take it to the next level. The thrill of the upcoming confrontation hangs heavy in the air, a tension that is almost electric. The game has just begun, and I will make sure that Janet learns the hard way what happens when you betray someone who loves you. The following weeks blur into a whirlwind of deceit, tension, and anticipation. I play my role well, pretending to be the devoted husband while I gather information about Janet and her lover Aaron. I keep my friends close, subtly probing for any signs of their affair, while my heart races with the thrill of revenge. But with each day that passes, the weight of my plans grows heavier. It's the night of Janet's birthday party, and I've invited a select group of our friends to help keep up the facade. The house is decorated with balloons and streamers, a false image of celebration. I put on my best smile, but inside I'm a storm of emotions ready to unleash chaos. I want to confront Janet and Aaron publicly to make sure everyone knows what kind of person she truly is. As guests arrive, I greet them warmly, shaking hands and exchanging pleasantries while scanning the room for Janet. When she finally comes down the stairs wearing a stunning red dress, my breath catches in my throat. She looks beautiful, and that only fuels my anger. "Happy birthday," I call out, clapping my hands together. The crowd cheers, and I lead her to the center of the living room, where I have set up a space for her to blow out the candles on her cake. "Thanks, everyone," she beams, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing just beneath the surface. After the cake is served, I gather everyone in the living room, making sure to keep Janet at the center of attention. "I have a little surprise for Janet," I say, my heart pounding in my chest. I thought it would be nice to share a few memories with that. I cue up a slideshow on the TV, images of our life together, family vacations, and countless happy moments. But as the photos progress, I slip in a few carefully selected images of Janet and Aaron, the ones I had seen before. The laughter in the room dies down as the first photo of them together appears on the screen, and gasps fill the air. "What the hell is this?" one friend exclaims, looking around in confusion. Janet's face pales as she stares at the screen. "Janet, care to explain these?" I ask, my voice calm and collected, contrasting sharply with the chaos erupting in the room. "What is this? Who took these?" she cries, looking around in disbelief. "That's the point, Janet. This is what you've been hiding from me, hiding from all of us." I let the silence hang, the tension thick enough to slice with a knife. "Those are just photos from a party," she protests, but the panic in her voice is palpable. "Photos from a party?" I scoff. "You call this a party?" I point at the screen, my heart racing with every word. "Do you want to know what I call it?" "Betrayal, lies, deceit," I hear. Whispers ripple through the crowd as they begin to put the pieces together. "Janet, is this true?" one of our friends asks, disbelief etched across their face. She turns to them, desperation in her eyes. "No, it's not what you think, but the evidence is undeniable." And the room begins to buzz with accusations. Friends shift uncomfortably, some look away while others stare at Janet with contempt. My heart swells with a dark sense of satisfaction. "Did you really think you could hide this forever?" I ask, my voice rising. "Did you think I wouldn't find out the rage in my chest? Swimmers and I know I'm on the brink of something irreversible. This isn't just about you and Aaron. This is about the trust you've shattered, the life we built together." Just then the door swings open, and Aaron walks in, a grin plastered across his face. He stops dead in his tracks as he sees the tableau before him. The slid host still playing, displaying images of him and Janet intertwined. "What's going on?" he asks, confusion painted on his features. Surprise, I shout, the bitterness in my voice cutting through the air. We were just discussing your little escapade with my wife. His eyes widen as he processes the scene. Janet, what the hell, he stammers, backing away as realization sin. Wait, I can explain, she cries, stepping towards him. Desperation evident in her voice. Explain what? That you've been lying to everyone, including me. How do you think this makes me feel? I snap, my fury now palpable. I never wanted it to come to this. Janet pleads, her voice trembling. It was just supposed to be fun. Fun? I spit back, disgusted. This is not fun. This is betrayal of the highest order. You think you can just throw away everything we had? The atmosphere in the room shifts. Friends shuffle uncomfortably, some whispering to each other. I feel the weight of their judgment, and it only fuels my resolve. Everyone listen. I call out, raising my voice to command attention. This woman has betrayed me. She thinks she can play with people's hearts without consequence. Let this be a lesson to all of you. Trust can be shattered in an instant. I step closer to Janet and Aaron, my heart racing with the anticipation of what comes next. You want to see the true meaning of betrayal? You will regret this night. As I move past Aaron, I can see his face transform from shock to anger. You think you can scare me? I don't need you, I never did. I whip around, my eyes burning with fury. You think this is over? You think you can just walk away from this? Unscathed, let's just go. Janet, we can talk about this later, Aaron says, trying to pull her away from me. But I step in front of them, blocking their escape. You're not going anywhere. I want you both to feel this betrayal, to understand the weight of your actions in an instant. I pull out my phone and hit record, pointing it at them. I want everyone to see what a lying, cheating scumbag you both are. Janet's eyes widen in horror. Please don't do this, she begs, but I ignore her. Everyone deserves to know the truth. I say, letting the reality of the situation sink in. You both made your choices. Now you'll face the consequences. The tension in the room escalates as the whispers grow louder. Friends start backing away, unsure of how to react. You're ruining my life. Janet screams, her voice breaking. No, you ruined yours when you decided to betray me. I'm just giving you a taste of your own medicine. I hit send on the video, sharing it with our entire friend group. Before they can react, the notifications light up my phone and I feel a rush of power. As I watch the chaos unfold, everyone will know the truth about you. Janet, you think this will end here? This is just the beginning. In that moment, I realize the tragic weight of my actions, the pain, the destruction. It's all spiraling out of control. I see the horror in Janet's eyes, the betrayal she feels mirrored in my own heart. I hate you, she screams, her voice raw with pain. Good, I reply coldly, because I hate you too. With that, I turn away, my heart pounding as I leave the room. The once vibrant celebration has turned into a battlefield, and as I walk away, I can feel the weight of the destruction behind me. In that instant, I know I've crossed a line. The revenge I sought has left a trail of devastation, but there's no turning back now. As I step outside into the cool night air, I realize that this was never just about punishment. It was about the loss of everything I held dear in seeking to expose their betrayal. I have lost the last shred of love I had for Janet. We may have parted forever, but the hatred we now share is all-consuming. It will linger like a ghost, haunting us both as we move forward forever, changed by the choices we made. The night stretches before me, filled with echoes of the past, and as I walk away from the ruins of my marriage, I realize that revenge may have felt sweet, but it has left an aftertaste of bitterness that I will never shake.